This is the Wheel of Time Spoilers podcast.
Self-aggrandizement. Engage.
We have so many people listening and donating to us that we were kind of talking about it before recording because it blows our minds in a way that makes it very hard to keep it in your head just how many people have come to the live recordings over the years, supported us financially, downloaded and listened to 2-hour rants about one chapter from a Wheel of Time episode over and over and over again. I don't know. It's amazing to me. So in that vein, we're thanking our Patreons to start off.
Yeah, we've got some new Patreons, some annual Patreons, some just generally worth mentioning Patreons happening here and now.
And we won't go through another hour-long recitation of all the Patreons because that's how long it takes.
For now. I do think we need to do that as part of the final wrap-up at
Yes.
a 10-year anniversary. The people who are still there do need one last shout-out as we conclude. But that is not today.
Today we're closer to the 9-year anniversary, depending on exactly when this drops.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
This, if you're listening to this, we are probably past the 9 years since episode 1 dropped. I've been doing that for a long, long time.
A lot has changed.
A lot has changed. Very different place in my life, for sure.
Yeah, that's wild.
And yet, some of you have supported us through that entire journey. Some of you have just joined us lately. Some of you joined and left and came back and then joined again and then left and then came back. Because it's been that long.
It's that kind of long.
It's that kind of long, you know. So, just a huge shout out to everyone, as always, past, present, or future, who's supported us, especially those of you who supported us financially.
Yeah, and also especially the lives, because y'all really make the flavor of the podcast unique and what it is. It's not just us.
Oh, yeah.
Secret third ingredient, the lives.
Filmed before a live studio audience every single week. And it makes as much a difference to us as it does to the TV. You know, it's not just the laughs, but it's the feedback. It's the corrections. It's just the personalities of those of you who show up. It makes a big difference in terms of what we end up talking about and what the podcast is about. So, I think that's, if you ever want to influence the content of the podcast, showing up live is huge. It makes absolutely a difference.
Yeah. You disproportionately represent the entire audience.
You do,
which is,
yeah.
Roughly 1,000 people, I think.
One to 2,000, depending on, yeah.
That many downloads on an episode. So I assume there's about 1,000 points at which, the pod is going out there. And anyone who's here live gets you represent a lot of people in terms of our emotional feedback.
Right.
Of what does the audience think? You speak for the whole audience. That is a dangerous question.
Yeah, who's your favorite listener? No, not answering that. That's
and pleading the fifth, I think, is the appropriate response.
I mean, my wife listens occasionally, so we're gonna have to go with never for sure.
Yeah, nobody in my immediate family listens to this show.
And when I say occasionally, I meant a couple of times when I first met her, and then she went, okay, yeah, that's enough.
What? My brilliant editing didn't manage to make her want to listen to you rant about Wheel of Time even more than she already does in real life?
She's more likely to listen to Used to Sew than Wheel of Time. But no, I mean, I don't know. It's like asking who your favorite student is or who your favorite, child is. It's who hasn't pissed me off today is what I heard one parent say. It's or even just oh God, what's my favorite book or what's my favorite movie? Those are impossible questions to answer because it's what mood am I in? What did I see recently? What's going on politically in the world? All of those things are constantly influencing each other to make certain things have influence and importance in my life. And so, one of my least favorite questions I think that I ever hear, and even just not of me, but just of anybody everywhere, is what's your favorite blah, blah, blah. And I understand why that's often a framing for questions because it is a way to start conversation. But my God, the word favorite is just overused in those situations.
Yeah. Hint for you and every other autistic person in the audience. What people mean is just give me something to talk about. They don't actually care what your objective favorite thing is. It's just a way of shorthanding that.
And the thing I want to talk about is how bad that question is, okay?
Yeah, no, it's yes, the autism is showing. This is such a common fucking complaint.
Yeah, but Spadoinkle, of course you then, right? That's obviously the answer, is when someone asks you, well, who's your favorite blah, 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 and if they're in the category, the answer is you. I've learned that rule.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very much so. I mean, I'd say I probably am ultimately your favorite listener because I became the co-host as a result of listening. So, like,
that is a good
logistically,
point.
like,
Yeah,
I win.
I'm not sure I can still put you in the category of listener anymore,
That's
though.
the thing,
Yeah.
is, like, I was your favorite listener, but, like, just because I transitioned out of being listener. Yes, you've now made us awkward and completely distracted. Congratulations. Do you want to, Seth, get to these names that we were going to read?
Yeah, so I want to start with a huge shout out to Kevin Wallbank, who this can't be his first time supporting us, but he's up at the Amerlin seat level. So
Wow.
Thank you so much, man. That's a huge contribution. We cannot tell you how much we appreciate that. That's amazing.
Quite the vote of confidence in our value in what we add to the world. Thank you very much, Kevin.
He likes us. He really likes us.
I think he likes us.
Dude, you rock.
Yeah, that's pretty epic. Next, we would like to thank Heidi. Thank you very much for joining the show.
Okay, now this one, LMTLWT.
I don't think that's a word.
I don't think that's a word. So probably just an abbreviation, also an email address. Yeah. So I'm sure that stands for something, but I don't know what. So thank you, whoever you are. Appreciate it.
Yes. Next, we would like to thank Nicholas Steffen. Thank you very much.
2 first names. Way to go. Gary Plate.
One word. Excellent.
One word. Yeah.
Gary Plate.
Gary Plate. I was going to be, is that some sort of like a jerry can? Right, but a Gary Plate?
Oh, a Gary Plate. As long as it's not a gerrymander.
No, we have enough of those. Stop it.
And last but certainly not least, we would like to thank William Cantu. Thank you all so much for joining the Patreon at whatever level for whatever time. It's all very warm and fuzzy making, and we appreciate you so much.
And a big shout out to the yearly, I guess the Patreon did a thing where it charged folks for a whole year at once.
Yeah, Patreon subsidizes it, so we get all of the money, but the person pays less. It's like a discount thing.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
Patreon's doing magic. Yeah, really appreciate that. It definitely, tax time was a really nice time for an unusually large amount of money to come through the Patreon. I wasn't mad about that. I really wasn't. Because someone decided we should do our taxes properly.
Did that fuck you this year? A little bit?
Yes, a little bit.
A little bit.
A little bit. Looks like I might be paying my fair share of taxes instead of the mysteriously low amount that I've been paying the last several years.
Yeah, sorry about that.
So it was a good month for Patreon to surprise us with extra cash.
Yeah, I'm not super happy about that, but
Yeah, you do the right thing and you get punished for it is always a fun feeling.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you to everyone that chose to do annual subscriptions. You made Patreon happy. You made us happy. It's awesome. Thank you. Speaking also of people who listen to us, we got a correction literally 10 minutes before this recording started. So in the last episode, the one that was about Avienda going through the columns, I put in this little snippet at the very beginning from Dungeon Crawler Carl, where I lost the word for Holy Grail and we ended up on the concept of a perforated chalice, and it was a whole thing. And then we ended up making a joke about Calendar and Colander, and you were like, that was really funny, Wheel of Time humor, let's put it into a Wheel of Time episode. So I popped it over there, and then that episode of Dungeon Crawler Carl came out. And someone who's listening to both of them then sent us a correction being like, did you realize that Calendar is the Holy Grail? Like, for real though, because the Holy Grail in Spanish is Sangreal, and RJ named Sangreal because that's the Spanish for Holy Grail. And yeah, I totally forgot that I knew that. I haven't known that for at least 5 years. I definitely did know that at one point, but thank you, Peter Marie, for reminding me of that information that I completely spaced out on. Because no, I totally forgot about that. We stumbled across that correlation in that episode. I never landed that joke. I did not remember that information whatsoever.
See, in my brain, that's half the reason I made the joke, right? Is because like that
right over my head.
Yeah, I was
right through
making the joke
holes in my brain.
Right, because that's the Holy Grail. That's the joke, because it is the sangreal was named after the Holy Grail. I thought that could go unsaid because I thought you knew.
I did.
Yeah,
I just
exactly,
didn't.
exactly.
Also, Schrodinger's Wheel of Time knowledge.
Sure. So that's I certainly in my brain I knew that and that's why I made the joke. However, of course, if I went back and listened, maybe I forgot and didn't mention it. But either way, we didn't mention it in the moment.
The subtext was too subtexty.
Yeah, it was too
It went right under my brain. It didn't go over my head. It went under my brain. So let's over-explain the joke.
Yes.
To take all the humor out of it, but also to, just another reason to say, just another excuse to say our listeners are awesome. They're following us across multiple podcasts and correcting us on lore across multiple podcasts. And that just, y'all are my people. You are my people. And it is fantastic that we have the internet to connect us.
Did you know humor is when you set up one thing to happen and then something else happens? And the unexpectedness of it is what makes humor funny. Are we not explaining jokes? Zoom totally cut that sound. I didn't hear any of that. Zoom's like, that's too loud. That's a weird frequency. You don't get to hear that. I can see you go crazy, but I know that nobody in the live audience saw that.
Just like trying to think of some sort of like dad joke level retort and just coming up empty. So it's just inarticulate velociraptor noises.
All right, Mongo. Let's get into this. Chapter 50. Choosing enemies. Those of us who pun are often chosen as enemies.
This is true. You are everyone's enemy.
This is Elayne taking the Cairhinin throne, or at least starting the process.
Yeah, she's got the ball set up on top of the hill, ready to roll, and then this is the chapter where she gives it that initial push. So, like, actually taking the throne is a ways off, but this is a really important committing to the action kind of moment.
And she does it by choosing her enemies to give them motivation to put her in power so they can then take the power away from her, right? Like, she's like, consolidate power under me, and then you can have it later, maybe.
Possibly, if you're smarter than me. It's
right.
Very Tuon-like in a lot of ways. I want the people directly under me to be competent to take over if they succeed in killing me, kind of deal. Spudwinkle. I am also not super plussed on this storyline. I know I complained a lot about the Civil War storyline when it was happening, but I don't like this one yet another order of magnitude. I guess because it's just the Deus de Mar of it all, the part where it's really a Cairhinin flavored maneuver, and I just have never had much patience with the Cairhinin political system. And here's Elayne, a character I like, being very involved and engaged and competent with that. So it's like, you just took everything I didn't like about the Andorran Civil War and then made it Cairhinin flavored. So like, nah.
I guess, I don't mind it because it's short.
It is blessedly short.
I like the idea that she's taking the throne of the place, that she does it by, they give it at least enough of a veneer with this whole giving lords lands in both countries so that they will elevate her so that she has the authority to do that, right? Like, I get that feels clever enough for me to, say, okay, check mark, I'm happy with this. This is a good resolution. We're uniting the kingdoms together under Elayne. Rand's children are going to be king of both countries, right? We're doing the whole like Europe, France. Like, I feel like there's a lot of good parallels there. Like, I'm happy with all of this as a storyline. Is it my favorite to read? I'm not going to say that it is, right? Like, but it doesn't make me grit my teeth the way some of the other plot lines have.
Yeah, for sure. It is gloriously sped run, for sure. Like, can't complain about that. We kind of just do it one and done in this chapter for the most part.
Yeah, if there was a bunch of it, this is terrible and the portion size is too small is basically what people are saying right now, right? Like, I want more. Like, this is too short. Okay. And I hate it. Okay. Then wait, which is it? Do you want more of it or do you want less of it? Right. Like,
I want less of this and more of her learning how to be a warrior queen. But again, I think I'm just pretty impatient with Cairhinin and politics, even going back to Jordan. So like Sanderson was not going to be able to improve it. I just don't think that was possible.
And they've really taken the ability to be warrior queen away from her by leaving her pregnant into this battle, into the last battle.
Yeah.
Right? Like, there really is just a limit to how much leading from the front line she can do and how much she's just going to have to be the one who commands from the back.
Yeah. That's again where it would have been so nice if we had like a year pass. And now she has, a newborn, but also a team of nannies that like, she's able to get back to riding a horse without it being, a miscarriageable offense kind of deal.
One of many reasons why I think this, it doesn't have to take 10 years, but it could have taken 5.
Yeah.
To get through this story pretty easily. There's enough time jumps.
Because then, she could have had a short pregnancy arc and then just had always the lingering anxiety about what world am I leaving for my children kind of vibe. And then we wouldn't have the only time she warrior queens being like literally when she's 9 months pregnant and couldn't possibly have gotten onto a horse.
And then it would make sense that like Winter's Heart was like 3 years long instead of like just one kind of long winter in the wrong season.
Yeah, it could have been a nice hat tip to Game of Thrones where the winter lasts multiple years kind of deal. Just like, oh, that doesn't make any sense, but you can see the like Jordan Martin like handshake through the thing because like they were colleagues, they were buddies, like that would have been fun.
Oh well.
I guess I should read us into the chapter.
Yeah, go ahead.
And I should point out that the chapter symbol is the rising sun of Cairhinin, even though this is Elayne as the queen in Andor doing Andoran queen stuff. This is building up to all of her Cairhinin stuff, so it's the Cairhinin symbol. Elayne sat anxiously, hands in her lap, listening to the distant booms. She'd intentionally chosen the throne room, rather than a less formal audience chamber. Today, she needed to be seen as a queen. The throne room was imposing, with its majestic pillars and lavish ornamentation. Golden stand lamps burned in a long double row on either side of the room, breaking only for the pillars. Guardsmen in red and white stood in front of them, burnished breastplates gleaming. The marble columns were matched by the thick crimson rug, woven with the line of Andor in gold at its center. It led toward Elayne, wearing the rose crown. Her gown was after a traditional fashion rather than those favored in court right now. The sleeves were wide, with the cuffs designed to droop down to a gold-embroidered point beneath her hand. That pattern was echoed by the bodice, which was high enough to be modest, but low enough to remind all that Elayne was a woman, one still unmarried. Her mother had married a man from Cairhinin early in her reign. Others might wonder if Elayne would do the same to cement her hold here. I just love that she has princess sleeves. I just love that she has princess sleeves. It's the freaking best. She's got Disney princess sleeves, the likes of which I was drawing from the dawn of like kindergarten through the end of middle school. Those are the sleeves. Those are the sleeves. All the girlies know what I'm talking about.
I mean, but that's what Camelin is, right? Camelin is Camelot. This is, the princess, she's the queen now of this great place, kind of the princess of Cairhinin because she hasn't quite taken the queenship yet.
Yeah, she's a princess. And yeah, I understand why she's doing what her mother did and what queens since forever have done, which is be like, I could marry any of you and I'm going to gain political power from playing. I mean, that's what Elayne's been doing. It's obviously what her mother did. She actually fought through with the marriage, but like, I get it. It's very normal in world. It's normal in fantasy. It's normal in history. I would have liked her being a bit of a mold breaker. I would have preferred that. Whatever. It's fine.
Kind of reminds me, is it Minzants or Fails that say, you tease to get what you want? Or no, it was Leanne's.
Yeah.
Who says you tease until, and it's like, well, what if the teasing, goes too far? And he's like, then you enjoy the ride, right? Basically.
Yeah. You pay the price and enjoy it.
Exactly. That's what it was. That's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, I get it. Sexuality is the oldest currency.
Mm-hmm.
It works. I would have enjoyed the ultimate princess in Ultimate Camelin just sort of randomly bucking that trend because trope reversal is fun, but I get why she didn't.
And property's the other way to unite, right? Marriage and property exchange. And that's what she's doing in this. Because she's dangling the marriage, but she's actually doing the property exchange.
I mean, and that's really all that marriage as a legal institution is. It's just an exchange of property. Always has been.
Yeah. Well, for a long time we called people property, so.
Yeah. I still do.
Yeah. Yeah, not as much, but yeah.
Yeah.
Now we have this other limited thing called land.
Yeah.
But we won't go into that. That's a whole nother economics.
Okay. Back to fantasy. Back to fantasy.
Back to fantasy.
Back to fantasy.
I don't need to go on my subprime mortgage rant.
Nope. Dylan is doing embroidery because it's helpful. That's what we need to focus on.
She's doing something with her hands to help her focus with her mind. She's doodling. She's knitting. I like her. She's one of those people who's like, I don't want power. I don't want to be up front. I just want to sit in the back and like help. And I'm going to knit in order to keep my hands busy while I think.
It's also a funny bookend to book one when Morghese was sitting in the throne doing her queenly pose and Elida was doing handcrafts next to her, but being creepy and weird about it. Now, here we are, new queen, new court, and there is still a woman doing handcrafts in an advisory position, but it's Dylan, and she's actually being chill about it.
That's a good. I didn't think about that parallel, but I guess an Aes Sedai doesn't need an Aes Sedai advisor, right?
Yeah, not so much. Not unless it's like on a different Aja's specialty kind of thing.
So it feels like Dylan took that position of Elida. That's a good call, that call back around to those two.
Yeah, an older, more experienced woman who has no desire to take your position because of the position she already holds.
I like that Elayne left Brigida with the Cairhinin nobility so she could track their movements.
Proximity detector.
Yeah. I feel like that's something that, like, in book one, we would have seen from someone else's POV, and we would have been like, oh my god, that's how she knew they were coming. Lan was with them the whole time, and that's how Moraine prepared. And we're like, oh, that blows my mind. And here it's just like, yeah, I'm tracking them through my warder. And we're like, okay, cool. Cool.
Yeah. It's a level up that I believe. Because
Yeah.
it was mysterious and amazing way back when no one had ever been to the White Tower. But now she's, all but tested in her Aes Sedai ship. It shouldn't be surprising. It should be standard. And it is. And so basically what's happening here is everyone is listening to a demonstration of the cannons while some Andorran nobles hang out and get to have little snacks in anticipation of when the Cairhinin nobles who actually got the demonstration come back and get told what's up. But then those guys are actually getting to see the disgraced Andorran nobles getting sentenced. It's like this whole 5-dimensional chess thing about who's getting to eavesdrop on who's getting to connect the dots at what speed, and who is fast enough to get the ultimate point and sign on to the deal. While people like Brigida and me are like, wait, what just happened?
But yeah, I mean, she's offering this land to the Cairhinin nobles after seeing a demonstration of these incredibly powerful cannons, saying, hey, you want to get on with it's essentially like bringing someone to a nuke test site and being like, here's this new weapon we've discovered. Do you want to be an ally with us or not? And then people going, yeah, I think we're going to join you. Like, that's a pretty impressive weapon.
But then she's super clever in that she does carrot and stick, right? She's got the stick of the cannons, the enticement to make you want to be on the fuse side, not the business side of these cannons, right?
Barrel. Yeah.
And also, we've got these mutually vacant spaces that can be reshuffled. And it's this assurance of like, no, you're not going to be second-class citizens who joined under threat of cannon fire. You're going to be making an alliance where you know that you're going to have cannons to continue to make your claims. And then she also, does this whole thing where she politically redeems the most disgraced of her Andorran nobles, right? By saying, me, Queen of Andor, cannot forgive you. But me, Queen of Cairhien, I don't have any baggage with you. So you can come help with these, lands over here and be political actors and do your thing and create cross-cultural stuff over there.
I think the thing about the lands, though, is they are highly undesirable. They have been left alone for like more than a generation.
Yeah, I'm not clear on that because she said she's going to have to give them some of lands out of her own holdings, right? What Rand did to Colavir, I don't think is exactly what she's doing here. Probably they are kind of marginal, but she is still salvaging them, turning them into people who will at least be reluctant, low-level supporters of hers.
I imagine that she has a lot of holdings on paper that are not ruled in reality, in the same way that a lot of Andor, right, including the Two Rivers, was part of Andor, but not actually ruled over by anybody. And so I imagine that she holds lands in Cairhinin that are part of Cairhinin, but because that whole area between, the city of Cairhinin and the Spine of the Dragon is basically abandoned since the Aiel War, right? I imagine she holds lands in that area and is thinking that's where she's going to give them land from.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, Rand already started a relocation program out there, like not just Colavir, like he was pushing lots of people out there. So Elayne, yes, anding that with some of her own undesirables is, the Cairhinin people will not see that as unusual.
But any frontierism like that is always going to be fraught with death and deprivation and failure. Right. So sending these Andoran nobles who betrayed you out to the frontier is not like it's not a nice thing to do for them. It's like it gives them a chance, but it's not more of a chance than killing themselves. But it's not exactly like the best thing in the world for them.
She's not redeeming them to be nice. She's redeeming them because they can be useful. It would be a waste to let them and their houses completely go out when she could, use their desire to survive to still do stuff. I do question, though, like, are you going to be just sending arrogant foreigners to take over rural areas that haven't seen a tax collector in a generation?
Mm-hmm.
They're just going to show up and tell people what's what? Because that feels a little colonial, and I don't like colonialism. So...
I'm assuming nobody lives there, right? We've seen Rand walk through that area and it was pretty abandoned. So I assume the people who are moving there with her, right?
So it's not like the Two Rivers where it's like you abandoned us.
Right.
It's the depopulated because of Warzone, because of the Aiel War. It's still... Yeah, there's probably not too many people doing fierce independent farmsteading out there.
This isn't generations of neglect. This is, 20 years ago, a giant army came over that mountain. I don't want to live near it anymore.
So yeah, she's getting nobles to move across the borders, right? Because she's putting Cairhinin nobles in Andor. She's putting Andoran nobles in Cairhinin. Even if they're disgraced, it's still setting up connective tissue that will be really hard to uproot as the years go by.
And the Cairhinin especially now own lands in both.
Right. And she's teasing the potential she might marry one of them, which makes for an even bigger merging of property. Like she's making sure that there's not one point of failure that can break this all apart again.
And also by giving the Cairhinin nobles the land, she's not seen as seizing it for herself, because that would definitely turn the Andoran nobles against her if she was like, no, I'm killing the nobles and taking their land to make myself more powerful. Like, no matter who holds the throne, they all want to keep their land as the throne passes between them.
Right. You want to know that the ruler who is protecting you and demanding your allegiance isn't going to rug pull everything out from under you. Otherwise, why would you support them, right?
So, did you want to go into these Cairhinin nobles? I didn't have. I think most of them are. I didn't look them up to see if their names were fans.
I don't think that the Cairhinin nobles are super interesting, aside from
Lorstrom?
No. The only thing that's interesting is... Oh, no, that's actually an Andoran noble. Elayne Sorand, right? Her husband, Jared, is still out in the field, and he's the one that has that weird metal-based bubble of evil at the opening of next book.
Yes.
That was the only thing that I thought was interesting to note about the character connections here.
Because she said, I don't know where his army is. That'll be trouble. And it's like, nah, bubble of evil will take care of that.
Yeah. Oh, we also do have Colavir's cousin here, who has been very careful to not draw Rand's ire after Colavir's death. Yeah, I don't know. Those are the only two that stuck out to me.
Lady Alil, House Riotin.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's the other one that has a connection to... and she's the sister of the guy that got taken over by Fane.
Torum.
Yeah. believe that those are two are siblings.
Mm-hmm. Yes, they are.
Yeah, these are all characters that have existed before. We've seen them in some capacity or other, but just none of them do much more than be related to people who have done stuff.
And then there's these 4 in a row. Lord and Lady Elayne, who she's, if I remember correctly, she makes advances on Rand in the throne room. She's one of those ladies with the big skirts.
Oh, in book 2?
Yeah, in book 2.
Oh, my husband is away at our other estates.
Yeah, she's
you
one
could
of
come
those.
play your flute. Me and my hoop skirt.
Yeah, same with Truliandrid.
Once where Tom is like, yeah, I mean, every man should have an education like they offer, but maybe not from them.
Hammer Ashley is not. She's just in this chapter only.
Oh.
Not named. Just a couple extra names thrown in there as far as I can tell. Mava Buin. Let me look that one up. Wow, these names are terrible.
Yeah, they really are. They are fantasy names on fantasy names. Like, just let a cat walk across the keyboard. It'll make more sense than what these names are.
Right. And this person's only in this chapter as well, so.
Okay, I guess I was wrong. They aren't all people we've seen before, but they're mostly people we've seen before.
Yeah, just a couple extra names thrown in there, which I don't really get, but well, that's fine.
Well, Sanderson was worried that he wasn't going to have enough characters to really flesh this out, so he thought just throw a few more in there.
I really do think people thought that character count was the point of Wheel of Time and not a side effect of the storytelling. And I wonder if sometimes he didn't do that to be like, oh, I need this many characters per chapter to keep up with the pace. And it's like, that's not the point.
Totally. So yeah, basically Elayne dangles all of these proposed ideas and concepts and trades and then says, oh, by the way, none of this will work unless you make me queen.
Right.
Of both countries. You're going to need to accept me as queen of Cairhinin in order for any of this stuff. Now, you've all said you want it. I need you to crown me. How quick can you make it happen? It's like, I can do it in an hour. I can do it in half an hour. And she says, an hour. An hour will be fine. I don't race too fast. An hour will be acceptable.
Yep, that's pretty much it. It's just she gets them, Tom Sawyers them. She gets them to paint her fence.
Oh, yeah. She walks them right into the palm of her hand and then just do. And then we POV switch, 5 whole minutes or location switch to later, and then Brigitte and me and a bunch of other politically non-savvy readers are like, can you please explain what the fuck just happened? What even was that? And then Morghese goes all proud mother on it, and
And I feel like this whole POV is just, again, this is just Sanderson being like, okay, right, so let me explain to you what I just did there.
See, the difference is that I needed it for this.
Right, fair enough.
Because it's a complicated political subterfuge thing. I genuinely wasn't going to get it unless someone laid it out plain. And that's just where we get the line, better to choose your enemies than remain in ignorance, right? That's the title of the chapter, is choose your enemies. And this is one thing I do understand, it's like the concept of management, right? You don't ask an office what color you want the walls painted. You ask them if they want them to be red or blue, right? Like Elayne is choosing her enemies. You want to choose your problem. It's Sun Tzu, right? Don't let the enemy choose where you fight. You choose where to fight, right? It's all that kind of logic bundled into one little thing.
And if you know your enemies, the known enemy is better than the unknown enemy, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Knowledge is power. Knowledge is what wins wars. Better the devil you know. Like, there's just no end of cute little aphorisms to make this point. But I'm enough of a dense reader that I did need Sanderson to spend an extra page and a half explaining what the hell he just did.
Spoiled. Jordan would never.
I know.
Jordan would expect you to figure out who all those nobles were from other hints he dropped somewhere else, figure out what the relationship was to each other, figure out why that happened.
And you know what? If it had been Jordan, I would have read these 3 books a lot more times over because I would have needed to in order to get what was happening.
Right. But you didn't because it's laid out there right on the page.
And so doing rereads is way less satisfying because I'm not learning anything new.
Way to hard sell the podcast.
Look, people are here for our scintillating personalities, not for our rapid fire takes.
Yeah. Oh, sure. Yeah, that's totally it. All right. Do you want to get to the next chapter? I feel like there's a little more meat in the next chapter.
Yeah. All right.
Not to say again, I didn't like that, but you're right. That was a very repetitive chapter. They kept saying basically the same things over and over again. She said what she was going to do. They did it, and then she told you that what she did.
Yeah. And then we leave them on, it's going to be a long hour waiting for the conclusion of this. And with that, we can hop into chapter 51, a testing. And our symbol is the dragon, because this is not an Aes Sedai test. This is not a wise one test. This is, can Rand hold his temper while he gets slapped in the face repeatedly by Borderlanders test.
Which might be the most important test he has to face before facing the Dark One, right? Like, do you have the temperament to deal with the Dark One? Or are you going to kill us all?
Yeah, I find the idea of you will test him and kill him if he can't pass the test on the eve of battle to be a wild last-ditch QC on behalf of the pattern. That is, what a choice. What a choice.
But, I mean, this goes back to reinforce the idea that only Rand can destroy the pattern. Only the Dragon Reborn is the one who's able to end the wheel. The Dark One can never do it. He can only convince the dragon to do it. And so it's better to kill the dragon and live an age in darkness under the tyranny of the, of evil, because that way at least the pattern can't end. And there's a chance for a hero to rise up and bring back.
Right, because as Rand says in his final, soliloquy against the Dark One in the next book, like, that man still fights, right? As long as there is still a pattern, people will continue to fight. That's the point. But yeah, if he unravels the pattern, there was nothing left to fight. There is no one. And yeah, so the Borderlanders are like, yeah, we'd rather suffer 1,000 years of darkness than oblivion.
Yeah. And I feel like that's what the prophecy is doing, right? That's like, it's that last ditch effort. If Rand at this point of their meeting hasn't, and like all the stuff that delayed them and kept them from meeting and kept, like, all that was giving Rand a chance to essentially become who he became and gain those memories and become the person who is an integrated Veins of Gold hero.
Yeah. And despite this chapter being dragon symbol and all about Rand, it's from Min's POV. We're actually seeing Rand from someone else's point of view, not from his, and not from like a disdainful Aes Sedai POV, from, one of his wives. So a much more intimate look at him.
And I feel like this is the chapter where Sanderson really tries to answer, like, what the fuck was going on with LTT and in Rand's head and the memories and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and this is where Sanderson's over-explaining really gets to me. I needed it in the last chapter, but this one is where I really don't believe that Rand is Rand anymore. This is just so Sanderson-y, and he's so like, I feel more like myself than I did when I was Lews Therin, and you talk like Lews Therin, dude. You don't feel like Rand at all. I'm with Min on feeling unsettled by this.
Because I feel like this kind of shuts down the debate in terms of, like, what LTT was in Rand's head, right? We know that was an insane voice in his head because he was always Rand. And if we just integrated those two, like, he wasn't integrating two personalities. He was always one personality. But I do believe the memories change him, right?
But that's the thing, is not everybody has the memories of their past lives. It's not like he has memories of all his past lives. He just has memories of this past life. So his whole, like, I'm just like everyone else, just more, is like, I just don't believe it. This doesn't feel like Rand.
Whereas I feel like with Matt, it was pulled off better, right? Matt always felt like Matt, just with all these extra battle memories. He's like, oh, I can tap into those and use them occasionally. Rand doesn't feel like, oh, he can tap into Lews Therin. I think the difference is it's one person versus multiple memories from multiple people.
Yeah. And I don't know. He ties it up with too neat of a bow. I don't believe it. And it feels like very peak Sanderson over-explaining. And yeah, I find it much less satisfying than explaining to me what the hell Elayne did in the thing.
So here's my question. Where has Kalendor been this whole time? Do we know that?
It was with some Aes Sedai that never get named that Cadsuane knows. Right? She says that she'd squirreled it away with someone, and it sounds like a Adelius and Van Dien copy and paste, but it never gets mentioned beyond Cadsuane has a guy. Well, two gals, but So yeah, do you want me to read us in with Min's vision of Kalendor?
Yeah, you got a lot of read-ins this chapter.
I do. 2 entire read-ins. Didn't read out for the last chapter. The hair on Min's neck rose as she held the crystal sword. Kalendor. She'd heard stories of this weapon since she was a child. wild tales of distant Tyr and the strange sword that is not a sword. Now she held it in her own fingers. It was lighter than she'd expected. Its crystalline length caught and played with the lamplight. It seemed to shimmer too much, the light inside changing even when she didn't move. The crystal was smooth, but warm. It almost felt alive. That's plenty. She has a vision of the sword being held in a hand that she describes as black and as being made of onyx. I'm assuming that's representing the moment when Moradin is holding it, and then the Dark One is holding it through Moradin, and then Rand does a little swipsy-swapsy, and,
Yeah, and he's frozen in place, right? The whole, being stone, being onyx, right? Like, he's holding it, gripping it upright. Who shall grip that fearful blade?
Yeah. It's the moment, one of the darkest moments of the Maelstrom of the fight, the actual sword fight that Rand is going to experience.
And I think the black hand is key to just show that it's not Rand gripping it. It's somebody else.
Right. Which is really important to how that fight goes down.
Right, and really, really important to be like, yeah, no, it's a trap, but not for you. You give it to him so we can trap him. Like, that's the clue that again, we keep iterating over and over and over again, is like, allow Moradin to take the sword from you, think he's got it, and then all of a sudden these two women can clamp down on him because it gives them control over him. They can open up the path to a lot of true power, use Moradin and his access to the true power to make sure the Dark One can't shut it off, feed it to you without corrupting you, use his body as a buffer, all those sorts of things that they're doing to essentially win the last battle.
Yeah, it all comes down to there has to be the black hand of doom and entropy has to hold the sword at a point in that.
Which is, to get the true power, because you need the true power to insulate yourself from the Dark One when you're sealing the prison.
And so, Rand is carrying two weapons at this point, right? He's carrying Kalandor as a magical weapon and object, and he's also carrying the Power Rot sword as just a symbol of stuff. And Tam is going to later, scold him into learning how to use it as a blade again properly. But, he's only got one hand, but he's carrying two different weapons, so that's cool. He's kitted out.
And that one is, the Power Rot sword is Justice, Arthur Hawkwing's sword.
Right, which he mysteriously found because underwater archaeology is a thing in Randland.
And that was actually an insert of Sanderson, because that's
specifically.
Specifically. So, and they do mention the deeper flaw in Kalandor, which I believe is the ability to channel the true power, rather than, because they know about the flaw that lets you take over somebody, right? But then they're like, there's an even deeper flaw, and that's the ability to channel the true power and be a true power sangreal.
Right. And so as he's preparing to go talk to the Borderlanders, he sort of checks in on the concept of the Black Tower, and it's like, much like with Perrin, it's like, that sounds bad. Something bad's going on. We need to do something about that because we can't travel in. So we know that stuff is going down. And he decides to send Nafe to go there to, I guess, take a Mask of Mirrors weave, which I guess he didn't know before, because he says, use this weave, it can disguise you. And I'm like, is Mask of Mirrors not common knowledge? But whatever. He tells Nafe, travel as close as you can, disguise yourself, sneak in, get me info. Like, something is wrong. And, Perrin says he's going to go deal with it in the dream because he knows about dream spikes. Rand is just like, can you go recon that? What happens to Nafe? Does he show up with Loghain's party at some point?
Yeah, and he tells, I'm not sure what let me look up his final fate, but basically he tells Andral that's the last order they get to be men. And Andral acts on that.
Yeah, because he says, tell them I was wrong. Tell them we are not weapons. We are men. Okay, so that is how that message gets in, is from Nafe. So then, what happens to him? How does he die or survive?
He's at the Dragon's Peace as an escort. During the last battle, Nafe is sent by Matt Cawthon to the Shanchan, instructing them to rejoin the battle. This character was named after charity auction winner Brian Neff.
Oh, cool. He gets to do multiple things then. Good for him. How very unusual for a fan insert name to not get killed immediately.
Right? And I'm like, whoa, he must have really done well, because he was in the Gathering Storm Chapter 1, and he's all the way through.
Yeah, he's the first one to get healed of madness, right? He's the one with Nynaeve for the dust bubble of evil.
Yep. That's it. He's in the last battle escorting Rand. He's there. Doesn't die. Survives.
Cool. So he goes in, delivers his message, and gets out.
Yes.
He doesn't save anyone, but he also doesn't become a liability.
Appears to be that way.
Cool. Neat.
Yeah, the message is all apparently that was needed, I guess.
Which means that Rand does not act on any information brought back by Nafe about how bad things are, and he does still leave them to fend for themselves, even though he gets an intelligence report from an agent.
As far as I can tell, yeah.
Boo.
Yeah. Rand's actions with the Black Tower kind of suck.
Not impressed.
So they're heading into Farmatting to meet the Borderlanders, because the Borderlanders think that will keep them safe. And we get that line that like, oh, the Guardian stops the one power and only the one power. And you're like, oh shit, he's got access to the true power.
Well, and everyone's looking at each other like, what else is there?
Yeah.
Because like not many people know about the true power. So everyone in the group is looking at each other like, what's he talking about? Yeah, it's just one of those crazy things that he says. It's just one of those crazy things that Insane Dragon Reborn says. And he has this whole conversation with Cadsuane about, you've got tools to make a gateway, an escape gateway happen. I know that. And then she's like, well, how am I supposed to use it on you if you walk away from me? And Min's like, it's for me. He just wanted you to be able to do that for me. He doesn't need to get out, but he wants to know you'll get me out. It's fine. It's very cute.
And then you get one of the most satisfying conversations that I think people really do love.
Oh, yes.
Yes. You may call me Rand Sedai, right? That's such a great moment where she's calling him boy, and he's like, listen, I've got all the memories of a 400-year-old man.
Read it. Just read it. Just read it.
Okay. Cadsuane Sedai, Rand said softly, your net has a few ornaments I don't recognize. I suspect it is a Breaking Era creation, but I was there when the first ones were designed, and I wore the original male version. The room fell still. Well, boy, Cadsuane finally said, are you ever going to give up that affectation, Cadsuane Sedai? Rand asked. Calling me boy. I no longer mind, though it does feel odd. I was 400 years old on the day I died during the Age of Legends. I suspect that would make you my junior by several decades at the least. I show you respect. Perhaps it would be appropriate for you to return it. If you wish, you may call me Rand Sedai. I am, so far as I know, the only male Aes Sedai still alive who was properly raised, but who never turned to the shadow.
Such a smackdown.
Just a great smackdown.
And then she responds by calling him Rand for the rest of the series. She doesn't insult or respect him. She gives him a neutral address.
Well, I mean, in her, that's being equal, right? Because she probably doesn't call other Aes Sedai. She doesn't say Moraine Sedai. She just says
No,
Moraine.
she doesn't.
Yeah.
She absolutely. She elevates him to the level of disrespect she gives all other of her colleagues.
Right.
Which is, that's respect from her.
Exactly. There's a moment here where he says, who was properly raised but never turned to the shadow. What does he mean by properly raised? Because
I was wondering about that.
this is not White Tower testing raising. This is Age of Legends being raised to whatever makes you an Aes Sedai in the Age of Legends. And obviously the Forsaken know what that is. Some of them have even gone through it and then turned. But we don't know.
No, we know that it isn't using an oath rod. We know that for a fact. That is the one thing we know categorically, is they were not using oath rods as part of the Aes Sedai initiation process. They may have been using some of the ter'angreal that are still used in the testing process. They may have been using them differently or in some other arrangement. Maybe the ones that the wise ones were using were part of it. They may have used different ter'angreal entirely. It may have just been a verbal ceremony. There may have been no ter'angreal whatsoever. Or there were ter'angreal that never got used, or that we've never seen because they all got lost in the course of the breaking. The only thing we know for sure is that it didn't involve oath rods.
And I can assume there's none of the ter'angreal that are being used today are being used for the same purpose they were used for.
Yeah, probably not. It seems wildly unlikely. But maybe that's part of why they decided to use ter'angreal as a testing means, was because they're like, well, we don't have those ter'angreal, but we can adapt this other one to fit the same purpose, or some sort of, garbled interpretation of what they were trying to do. I don't know. But yeah, I agree. I don't really think that the arches or the rings were there before. Were present in that ceremony before.
And then I love this line. Now, if only great age were an indication of great wisdom, which I feel like is one of those things that this book hammers home, these series has hammered home over and over and over again, is that wisdom and intelligence and age don't go together.
Absolutely. He comes at that. Both of the authors come at that from so many angles. They make that point over and over again with a different combination of factors. And it's always true that there is no one-to-one correlation. There just isn't.
I feel like it's one of the reasons the canon is so frustrating, because they let the oldest rule, and the eldest is such a like crappy reason to be in charge. And so you end up with these terrible, stodgy, afraid of change, afraid of taking risks rules that really made people's lives miserable for generations.
Yeah. And yet some of the most wise, helpful, useful people are some of the oldest, right? Leah is a great example of someone who has really helpful things to say and has been around for freaking ever. So again, it's not like old people are universally dumb. There's not a one-to-one correlation.
But they're better in advisor roles. They shouldn't be, president.
Oh, yes, for sure. I mean, there are some trends for sure, but it's just like the concept of information warps and changes over time is one of the most fundamental parts of Wheel of Time. The idea that you can't judge someone's relative intelligence by their social rank or their age is another like really load-bearing concept for the world. Yes.
Which has made it really hard for me to respect authority as I grow up, because these fucking books taught me not to respect authority, that you respect the person and for what they are, not for the rank that they hold.
Yeah, exactly. It's something that, my husband and I have been talking about a lot lately, is how many of our elders have turned out not to follow through on the things that they taught us.
Yeah. No kidding.
To believe.
Yeah.
And it's like, wait, why are we disagreeing about this thing right now? I thought I was following through with what you told me was how the world should work and how morality should work and so on and so forth. And it's very confusing when like I thought I was following the rules and now you're telling me that there's some other secret rule set that you're actually following that like profoundly does not meet the standards that it's
money is king. That's what I think they left out, is like a lot of the rules don't matter when it comes to money for them.
It's more than just money, the examples I can think of, but yeah, as a proxy, there is a level of greed and control that overrides the other stuff.
Sure, yes, yeah. Money and power, for sure.
It's one thing to question authority when you're young and dumb and everyone's like, oh, that's normal. But then you like continue questioning it because it continues to not hold up to scrutiny. It doesn't. It's frustrating. It's very frustrating. I thought eventually I would become mature enough to realize that all these older people were correct. And no, instead I'm just seeing they've got more holes than a box of Swiss cheese in their logic.
That they had a very simple idea of how the world worked and are clinging to that idea beyond all rationale.
And yet what they told me as a kid now counters what they believe. Like,
right. Yeah. No, I know it's fun. I don't understand it. I'm certainly no one to tell you what the answer is, because I find it very frustrating as well.
Yeah, it's frustrating and confusing. And yeah, so it's, again, these books are part of why it's so frustrating and confusing, is because I see again and again these characters I respect and have grown up with going, maybe we have to judge people on their actual actions and thoughts rather than on their basic demographic markers. That's just a point made over and over again. And then the real world is like, nuh-uh, that's only for fantasy. Like,
right.
But art is supposed to inform my life. That's the point of art. It's supposed to help us navigate real life. It's not supposed to be separate.
There's a little bit of history reminiscing from Rand, right? Lewis Theron. I feel like this is part of what makes him not feel like Rand, because he starts like reminiscing like he's Lewis Theron. But the enclave of the Incaster, those afraid of progress, afraid of wonder. Turns out they had a right to be afraid. How I wished I'd listened to Gilgame
is how they say it in the audiobook.
Okay.
Yeah. Wants me to think of Gilgamesh.
And he's talking about sort of like the history of Farmatting, right? It was before they had the Guardians, they were still this place of Luddites, essentially, right? Isn't that what he's saying? That's how I'm reading it.
Yeah, like fiercely Luddite. Like Luddite in the overdone ahistoric sense, for sure. Yeah, I find it interesting that this is a city that actually has cultural coherence and relevance stretching back to before the breaking. Like the idea that Lou's Theron is like, oh yeah, this fucking city.
Yeah.
You know? I'm like, didn't the breaking rewrite everything? You don't know any of the history between here and there any better than Rand does. So like for you to have that reaction means that this city has maintained its identity through, like from before the breaking through the breaking, and it's still doing that now. Like I thought the breaking was more total than that. Wow. I guess maybe that's why the Guardians exist is, I don't know. I don't know. I found that surprising.
Farm assholes.
But farmatting is, as Vuji puts it, the cockroach of Wat locales. It just won't die.
Well, I guess maybe the Guardian is part of that, right? Because it was able to survive longer.
Yeah, when does the Guardian get built, though? Because that doesn't go back to the breaking.
Not too well, but how long after the breaking did they build it, right? I thought it was pretty quickly after the breaking that was created as protection, because they saw how bad the breaking was.
I forget the story, but he literally even says, always a thorn in our side, Arendashar was. It's like, so Rand's almost sounding like the Dark One talking about Manetheren there. The thorn in my side. Freaking conservative, backward Luddites, but also they have all this fancy technology, apparently, for blocking magic. I don't know. They're progressive enough to build the Guardians.
And they are women, driven as a society.
Yeah, but they're just such angry capitalist women. They just feel like men with skirts. I don't feel like women.
Sorry, reading about the Guardian.
Yeah, Vuji, the lake as mega mode is probably useful, but I don't know. You can build stuff. You can build embankments and bridges.
Hard to know, man. It doesn't say when.
Really? There's no actual date on when the Guardians got created?
I mean, okay, it definitely existed in FY 900 something, which is before the Trolloc War, or before the War of the 100 Years, which is after Arthur Hawkwing. So let's see. I don't know. It's hard to know when. It existed 1,000 years ago.
Okay.
At least.
All right.
That's about all the constraint I can put on it. It existed shortly before the War of the 100 Years when Arthur Hawkwing was around, but it was probably built, and it was certainly built after the breaking. So that's a 2,000-year window I can give you.
Well, that narrows it down tremendously. All right, yeah. Well, anyway, I just think it's interesting that this is a city that actually managed to maintain aspects of itself from before the breaking until now. Mm-hmm. It's very impressive.
Yeah, the location. One of the things I was actually thinking about in Eye of the World, Lews Theron, he's the first person to go mad due to the sealing away of the Dark One and the taint, right?
Sure. Well, I mean, him and the 100 companions all go mad at the same time.
At the same time, right?
Yeah.
So he creates this, he uproots the mountain and creates the river and creates Tarvalin and creates Dragon Mount. And then in all the other breaking, that river doesn't get disrupted.
Well, the river was already there. He changes the course of the river.
I know. But I just thought, I was like, man, it seems like if that's one of the first things that happens in the breaking, and then the breaking goes on for hundreds of years, feels like that should have also been broken as well.
Yeah. There's a lot of inconsistencies with how the breaking went down. And they can't all be explained by the breaking being the breaking, because some of it's like, yeah, but shouldn't more stuff have broken?
Right.
Then?
Right. That's it. It almost feels like not enough stuff broke, in my opinion. It's like if mountains were rising up and bays were turning into, deserts and dry land is turning into the river, it's like it seems like there should be a lot less consistency in the cities that stayed. And
even just over 3,000 years for normal erosion, rivers don't usually stay in the same place. 3,000 years for a river to stay in the same place. That's not obviously a Grand Canyon situation. The river's not going to reroute, because it's stuck where it is. But why the Grand Canyon has all those loopy loops in it is because it was a meandering stream. It was a flat, almost no gradient stream, and then uplift started again and it started to downcut really hard. But those meanders are from when the river could reroute itself basically every flood. And it's more like the Mississippi. If you've ever seen like LiDAR of the Mississippi, there's just loops on loops on loops because it changes so often. And, now people are trying to hold it in one spot because of where we built our cities. And we're like, no, you can't move river. But that's what it does. These rivers move. We just got a video posted in chat about the Amazon River, an Amazon River tributary moving. This is a normal thing rivers do. So unless you're telling me that Tarvalin is purely, or that or Menetherindrael is cut entirely into bedrock and is down cutting, that's the thing is rivers have to move. They either have to move laterally or they have to move vertically. They don't just stay in one spot forever. They move. The surface of the earth is dynamic. Even over 3,000 years, that's a very relevant amount of time for river erosion. So Tarvalin should not look, the island of Tarvalin should not look like it did when Lews Therin made it, even setting aside the fact that the breaking continued for hundreds more years. And yeah, it did. You would think that as the Aes Sedai are trying to set their stuff up, that things go down and put more weird punches in the river or something. And then, the river itself should just be wandering away or downcutting over the intervening centuries.
Or completely rerouted because an uplift in land somewhere else caused by some other,
if you make a new mountain range, you're going to have new watershed boundaries.
Right.
If you flatten mountains, you'll have new boundaries.
And we're told repeatedly that new mountain ranges are made over and over and over again, right? That's kind of the key to the breaking. So anyway, I was just, again, I went back and listened to Eye of the World, and that thought occurred to me of man, that's all that lasted through the rest of the breaking. That seems, because it ends that prologue with there the mountain and the river and the island waited. I'm like, oh, they did? They managed to wait through the rest of the breaking? That's impressive. Damn.
Right.
Totally irrelevant to this chapter, but other than the fact that we're talking about a city that lasted through the breaking.
Right. This lake shouldn't still be here after 3,000 years.
Right,
exactly. Unless they are using the power to manipulate the landscape to, is this, even Roman infrastructure. Not a lot of it is really still functional unless it's been maintained by people over time. And some of it's still totally, there's definitely stuff in Rome that's 2,000 years old, still pumping water. It's great. Or still moving water. Not pumping it, but moving it.
But yeah, you have to assume these are layers upon layers of cities, right? One on top of another. To assume the city's still here.
Well, that's the thing it's implied it's not, right? The Guardian's been here for 2,000 years. So
right.
They're being uncovered and moved up. There's a serious lack of respect for the geologic process in these books.
Only you. Respect my geology.
Respect my geology.
So yeah, we get this sort of summary of what Rand is and how they merge together, and a lot of this argument is and what it was revealed in this chapter is how I've used to argue what Rand is, right? And the voice in his head was always the craziness and the insanity caused by the taint, not him, not Lews Therin. Lews Therin isn't a separate person. That is just Rand with new memories. In the same way that Matt isn't a different person because he gets his memories. He's just Matt with memories.
Yeah, he emphasizes that it is memories alone and that it is still him, that he's not changed by those memories. And I question the idea that you are not changed by having memories. But it's the argument he's making, and who am I to discount his lived experience?
Right. Well, and that's something to talk about with the series, right? And that there is a soul, there is something that is reincarnated that doesn't have the memories from your previous life, but is still you and gets to love again and gets to, we went through all that with Veins of Gold, right? Why do you get to live again? It's so you can do better, so you can love again, because loving is worth it, even if you don't remember it from life to life.
Yeah, and he has, this beautiful line about like the difference is that I was raised better. The difference is the people around me. I feel more like myself than I did when I was Lews Therin, which I think is like a weird thing to say. And he does say, if that makes sense, which like, no, it doesn't. But like, I do kind of get it, this idea that there is an intrinsic soul that has gone through life after life after life, and each life is better or worse for, manifesting your best self or whatever. And like, this is one of the best ways that his life could play out. So he's like the most holistically connected to his entire soul. I think that's what he's saying. I think I get it.
It's like he has to mask the least amount in this life, right? In the past lives, he had to be like this. He had to fake a bit of who he was. And in this life, the people around him have let him be who he wants to be. And so he feels more confident and he feels more like the person he grew up to be, because he doesn't have to pretend as much.
He's more authentically himself. He's
yeah,
less
exactly.
Put on a pedestal, summoning the 9 rods of Dominion in a fancy coat, and he's more just looking out for a lost sheep and playing his pipes.
And I got to think of it looking back on like high school and being like, yeah, I really had to mask hard in high school, but thank God I didn't know how to do that at my current job, right? Like that level of he gets to be himself in this life, and that's made all the difference. But he can still remember that like shitty time that he had where he had to pretend to be Lews Therin Telamon.
Yeah, where he had to pretend to be competent and where he had to pretend that, XYZ, all those other things.
And where he didn't have the advice of a, strong, solid man, and he didn't have... I feel like there's a certain amount of doing what's right. Like, Lews Therin did what thought would get him success without necessarily thinking about what would be right. And I think that's what led him to the arrogance of thinking he could win the last battle without support from the female half of the Aes Sedai.
And also probably led to him having the friendships that he had that turned into Forsaken once shit hit the fan, because his friendships were based on being competitive and being arrogant and trying to, climb up this ladder. And even, his first serious relationship fling was with someone who was, very smart and very driven and maybe a little more ambitious than, whatever. And yeah, that's why so many of his professional relationships soured to the point that they turned to the dark side.
Right. Yeah, like what kind of personality does that to all your friends, right? Like maybe you need to be there and think about other people and supporting them a little bit more. And how he's doing that because he was raised, that's the argument. He was raised to be a better person. There's some like, oh yeah, I was raised to be polite.
I was raised to have Southern politeness.
Yeah, exactly.
And to be able to perform niceness and to blush at the thought of an unclad ankle. That's what makes it so much better, is being a Puritan who hangs out with sheep.
I was raised Puritan.
Yeah. If only I was raised with proper Christian values instead of those decadent Roman era pagan values. That's a little bit what I'm getting from this.
There's a little bit of that.
I was saved by Jesus. Also, I am Jesus.
I will say that Jordan definitely believed wholly in the Southern gentleman being the best kind of gentleman.
Which, Southern gentlemen are a problem.
Having met the person that Matt was based on, yeah. He was funny as hell. He was fun to talk to, but wow.
So, I get it. Being a snooty rich kid from the city who's put on a pedestal doesn't make you a great person. I don't know if the antidote to that is being a puritanical poor person.
Yeah, just because they're different doesn't mean one's better than the other or improving on the other.
Right. That's I see the idea of, yes, we do want to change things up, but that doesn't inherently mean that progress will be linear. Progress is not linear.
That was interesting to hearing about the argument about industrializing America and how a lot of our founding fathers didn't want industry in America because they thought it would better to be farmers would be better politicians, would be better able to support the republic.
The human farmer understands the needs of the plantation owner.
Exactly.
Yeah, the more I study ancient Rome and the fact that the rich guys were all plantation owners who had just reams of slaves working those plantations for them. And it's like, and that's who our founding fathers were modeling themselves after.
Successfully.
Let's not be surprised at the outcomes, please and thank you. Yeah, the yeoman farmer being the correct mob to rule is not the democracy that I was sold in my early stages of education.
Do you want to talk about the Borderlanders?
Yeah, the unity of the border.
2 women and 2 men. Tenobia,
Ethanel, Pater, and Isar. And we've seen them all in scenes with each other. We've seen a bunch of them in scenes with other characters. These are well-established personalities.
Mm-hmm. But they've been wandering the countryside for the last 5 books, right?
Right. I mean, they had a whole negotiation with Egwene and with Elayne, right? Like, we have seen them all over the place, stuck in the snow, stuck in the mud, stuck between Aiel and other armies. Like, they have been just pinballing around the continent and the plot.
And they all have an Aes Sedai with them. There's 13 total Aes Sedai in the area.
Yeah. They have 4 armies, 13 Aes Sedai, and 4 heads of state.
Are they in the area where Aes Sedai can still channel, but Rand can't? Are they in that in-between spot? So I guess my question is, are they also inside the female bubble?
Oh, they are, because of the whole discussion with Cadswain about having a well that she can use to make a tiny gateway so that way men can get out.
Because I know there is an area in between the 2 bubbles where you can actually prevent a man from channeling, but women can still channel.
Yeah, they go all the way in because they know that he has Aes Sedai with him.
Min has a vision of Tenobia with a spear hovering overhead, bloody but shining in the light, which, I mean, I assume that foretells her being stabbed to death when she dies in the last battle, because that's what happens to her.
Yeah, because it's just a general vision of fighting and probably last battle. And yeah, one assumes that it's significant because she dies, and that is how Perrin and Fael end up. Well, that plus Bashir dies, and that's how Perrin and Fael end up, in charge of Saldaea. But yeah, it's probably that Tenobia goes down fighting quite epically. The spear is bloody but shining in the light, right? She doesn't betray anyone. She doesn't do a cowardly thing. She gets betrayed and goes down fighting absolutely badassly. Even though we don't see how she dies, like, one assumes from this vision that she goes down taking several people with her,
Tenobia? I think we do see her go down.
At a distance. We're not, like, in the fray.
Yeah. We see her swarmed under, basically.
Yeah, but I assume that she takes down at least 3 enemies with her, and that's why the spear is bloody but shining. I'm choosing to believe that this means that, like, she goes out like a warrior.
I kind of thought it was the spear that stabbed her, so...
Nah, you can't have shining in the light being the dark friendery. No, it has to be a good vision. She's awesome, even though she's annoying as hell. I want to think that in her last moment, her fierceness is turned on the right person, And then Ethanel will soon wed. I believe that is to one of Tenobia's uncles. We saw that kind of getting set up in a much earlier chapter, books ago.
Yeah. Kylan Ramson?
Yeah.
Uncle to the Queen Tenobia? Yeah.
Yeah, there's this whole scene where we're in Ethanel's perspective, and he kind of looks at her, and Tenobia's like, oh, yeah, you guys should have dinner sometime. I think it'd be great. And so from this vision, we know that's going to happen.
Scarred and grizzled, though he be.
Well, she's already raised children and been widowed, and, like, a handsome boy toy is not what she's in the market for. She wants someone solid and seasoned.
So the next chunk is Rand getting slapped.
Yeah, we don't get visions for all of them.
No, that's the only 2.
We get Tenobia and Ethanel, and then it says the other 2 have various swords, shields, and arrows hovering about them because they'll fight soon.
They're gonna be in battle, which is like, yeah, no shit, Sherlock.
Okay, so the 2 women get visions, and then the 2 men are, they're going to have a time. Okay, Cool. Thank you, Pattern. We needed that. But it's there to add the tension of, is that a vision of the last battle, or is that a vision of 10 minutes from now? It just adds a little tension, and it doesn't happen, but it adds tension for the scene.
Because we never know with Min's visions when they're going to occur.
Right. And then, we get to the slapping.
Slapsgiving!
Yeah.
Which, I don't have much. Everyone slaps the shit out of him.
It escalates, right? We have Ethanel got the right to do it first. She just gives him a pretty basic lady slap. And then Isar backhands Rand. It's like, okay, cool. Then Tenobia comes up and, goes full-armed slap. And King Pater actually knocks Rand to his knees with how hard he gets backhanded. So there's a very distinct stepwise escalation. as we go up. You know, we warm him up before we go for the hardest hit.
Yeah. They're testing his temper, seeing at what level he's going to react, if any.
And then, you know, assuming that it's not going to be till the last one, that's Pater who then presents the question while making sure he's close enough to, you know, do a sword to the abdomen, to the neck.
Right. To quick kill.
So it's a complicated setup. They definitely had to have choreographed that once or twice with some air slaps. Athlon, this scene slaps.
But yeah, very ceremonial, very, you know, sort of feel like this is, which is a little different because this is like a one-time ceremony. So it's like, I don't know how it could feel that ceremonial because it's like.
But we did have the Aiel First Sister ceremony, which can't help but make this feel like an echo, right?
True.
Like,
yeah.
We've had ceremonial slapping. So even if this is a once in an age ceremony, it still feels ceremonial as a test of temper, as a test of commitment. The thing is that with the First Sister ceremony, they at least knew they were in a ceremony, whereas Rand is picking it up as it's happening, that this is a ritual. It's more of a ritual than a ceremony.
Yeah, that's a good, a one-time ritual. I like that.
Because it's clearly got the import and the metaphysics and the ceremonial or the solemnity. But yeah, more of a ritual. And all of the allies are, of course, trying to, you know, defend Rand, and he has to be like, no, we're doing a ritual. Calm down. I can handle being hit in the face. I'm the Dragon Reborn. And then there's also this line from Cadsuane where she's like, what are you doing? You cannot hire a man to rebuild your house, then reproach him when he must knock a wall down to do the job. And it's just it's so true and it's so misplaced. It's so in the way. It makes no sense to have that, even though it's a good point. It is a good point, but like not here.
I feel like they're testing to make sure he can do the job, right? You test somebody to make sure they can do the job.
Exactly. Cadsuane just like completely misses the point.
Yeah.
And it's just like, Cadsuane, shut up. Be quiet. And then, yeah, this question. And the name is, what is it? Telendel Tiriso.
Yeah. I assume kind of a nobody, right? Just a clerk. That the only reason this question exists is not because the death itself holds any significance, but just to see if he has integrated the memories to remember such an relatively insignificant detail.
This is the green M&Ms of the last battle.
Yes. Just testing to make sure that the contract is being followed, that the person is not insane, that the memories are integrated.
Yeah. Do you actually know what you're doing? Is the knot secured?
Mm-hmm. And they don't understand why it's significant, but they just know that it is significant. And without this information being in Rand's head, he is not prepared to face the Dark One.
Yeah, he hasn't integrated the lesson of the reason that we fight is to try again. And he will choose to end the world when presented with that ultimatum, unless he's integrated. So, yeah, it's interesting how this random clerk and her more or less senseless death is the linchpin. But again, yeah, this is the green M&M of the entire rock show.
And I'm thinking killed by lightning when Domandred attacked, right? That's her death. Which kind of feels a lot like when Avienda and Matt were killed by lightning attack.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, her blood on my hands, but it was a lightning attack from, well, not Demandred in that case, but yeah, from a Forsaken, from one of the big bads that he's fighting.
I think it was Ravine in that case.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of bookends to things that we've seen before that, like, they're subtle enough that I didn't notice them until I was bringing my podcast lens to bear on it. And so then, yeah, SNL says, well, we'll stop being mysterious now. You passed the test. Now you can have the info dump.
And I'll read the prophecy.
Yeah, do it.
I see him before you, Pater quoted. Him, the one who lives many lives, the one who gives deaths, the one who raises mountains. He will break what he must break, but first he stands here, before our king. You will bloody him, measure his restraint. He speaks. How was the fallen slain? Telendel Tiriso, murdered by his hand, the darkness that came the day after the light. You must ask, and you must know your fate. If he cannot answer, then you will be lost. You will bring his end swiftly, so that the final days may have their storm, so that light may not be consumed by he who was to have preserved it. I see him, and I weep.
Okay, that's not murder, though. That's accidental friendly fire. That's rude. This is a rude prophecy. Murdered by his hand.
Well, it's not entirely clear Yeah, I think by his hand was Demandred's hand. Well, it's not entirely sure. Well, it's possible that Lewis there, I guess.
Because it's like he will break. The only he in this so far has been the Dragon Reborn. So I don't know why it would change who the he is for that one sentence.
Well, the darkness that came the day after the light, that, you know, that could be referring to Demandred. By his hand, the darkness that came the day after the light.
I don't know. Anyway, the point is that this was given by an ancestor of Pater's who was a Aes Sedai. It was heard and preserved by, you know, one of her cousins or siblings and just kept as a family secret, as a family treasure. Like the kind of story that Fane told about the Horn of Valir when he was giving it to what's-his-face in Book 2 in Falma, Turak. Thank you, Vuji. It's like that, except that this actually happened. This isn't a tall tale. This is a real thing that somehow was, again, preserved the entire 3,000 years. Athlon, if the prophecies didn't have pronouns, maybe we would interpret them better. Yeah, the world would be a lot simpler if we just reduced the number of pronouns that were constantly splattered across everything.
Yeah, I guess it's not clear to me if Rand killed her or if he just found his body after the exchange. Like, it could have been a Demandred attack. Maybe he probably doesn't even know, I'm guessing, who killed her, would be my guess.
Sure. Which, again, I feel like murder is the wrong word then. Slain would have made a lot more sense. But whatever. It's fine. I'm nitpicking a prophecy. It doesn't need to happen.
But yeah, then there's that moment where Tenobia's like, you can't hurt us. We're inside the Guardian. Rand's like, yeah, so it only really blocks the one power. And everyone kind of looks at each other and goes, what?
Even Catswain thinks like, huh?
What does he mean by that? Yeah. He's got the true power. I 100% believe he's got the true power, right? He has access to Morden's body, right? Like, he still has access to that. It's never been taken away.
Yeah, no, he generally doesn't choose to use it because it is a problem. But, like, in the eventuality of him snapping at these people, the Guardians would not have protected them.
Right. And that's one of the reasons he's able to walk in just calmly and not worry about things.
It's mostly being Zen Rand.
Mostly being Zen Rand. But there is that, like, I think it's also the reason why he had no problem walking into the White Tower, right? Because what are they going to do? If they could, even if they put a shield on him, he still has the true power.
Right.
And he could just teleport out of there. Because we've seen them, right? The teleporting with the true power, you don't need a gateway. You just fold in on yourself and teleport from one place to another.
Right, totally. And so then, Rand chides them for being so foolish. A month earlier, this would have gone absolutely terribly. And they're like, it's fine. He's like, no, it's not fine. You shouldn't have done that.
I think the pattern would have never let him meet them before he was ready.
Yeah, I agree.
Or the last battle was imminent enough that he needed to be stopped.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I think the Borderlanders were completely correct that they needed to engage in this. And it's fine that Rand is freaked out by that, but he's wrong that they shouldn't have done that.
And so then he gives them the whole, like, so you're stuck here and either do what I say and come with me to the last battle or you're going to miss it. Because I'm about to break these seals and start the last battle the day after tomorrow. Yeah.
And they're like, well, that escalated quickly. I thought we were giving you the info dump. Good Lord.
He's like, I passed your test. You're mine. Swear up.
Yeah, like I've saved one of your cities already, and I'm still unwilling to bring you to the battle unless you're willing to swear. I'm still holding true to that.
And can I apologize to Huron? I was a dick to him.
Yeah, he says, I'm going to give you an hour to think about it because that's at least how long it's going to take me to apologize to Huron. And I think that's a really sweet way for him to, wrap up this engagement, right? To say, here's this weird, ridiculous ultimatum about joining up, swearing to me, blah, blah, blah. That's kind of weird and king-like, but we're going to do the very human thing of actually taking the time out of our day to go find Huron and talk to him and apologize. So, he's containing multitudes, this Dragon Reborn.
Yeah, because we needed that. We needed that redemption after the way he treated Huron in the last book. That was bad.
Huron was like the most ride or die and yet somehow not dragon sworn of the entire cast. He's the most dragon sworn and the least dragon sworn all at once.
Because he worshipped Rand for being Rand, not for being the Dragon Reborn. Because he wasn't the Dragon Reborn at that point. He was just Lord Rand to Huron,
Yeah, it's like the way Perrin attracts followers. Like, it happened to Rand first with Huron.
Yeah.
More than with anyone else, ever. So.
And Huron was always a good dude. Always. You know, he always...
Respectful, supportive, discreet.
Rand, Loyal, and Huron was a great trio.
Yeah.
They were uncorruptible by land fear.
I know, right? Dazzled by, yes. Corrupted by, no.
And with that takes us to chapter 52.
No, it doesn't. That takes us to the end of the episode for today.
Yes. And next time, chapter 52, which puts us 4 episodes left in this book.
All right, I guess I'll give us a tiny little readout, and then we can call it a day.
Sounds good to me.
They still looked stunned. Cadsuane rose to go speak with the sisters waiting outside. She knew a few of them, and needed to feel out the others. She didn't worry about what the Borderlanders would decide. Althor had them. Another army beneath his banner. I didn't think he'd manage this one. One more day, and it all began. Light, but she hoped that they were ready. 4 more episodes. Whew. Ridiculous.
Thank you so much for joining us. That was a fun one for me. I am liking the Sanderlanche at the end of this. I feel like we're getting a bunch of wrap-ups, a bunch of really, you know, hey, these are the final things we need to get done before the last battle really kicks off.
Yeah, he's really good at kicking the ball he set up for himself. It is glorious to witness. And
it is a pretty solid kick, isn't it? It's just like, yep.
Here we go.
Here we go. It's like going over the barrel in the Niagara Falls.
Yeah, totally.
Going over Niagara Falls in the barrel, if you want to say it in the right order. Jeez, you pedantic people. I can hear you already.
And yeah, with that, I want to thank everyone for listening to us again. Do please remember to share us with the 3 people who live under a rock that haven't heard of us yet. And remember that Patreon has an ad-free feed if you want that. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Wheel of Time Spoilers podcast. Please rate and review us on your podcast app, and consider supporting us on Patreon for ad-free episodes. WoTSpoilers is a production of Fox and Raven Media. For more podcasts from Fox and Raven Media, visit our website at foxandravenmedia.com.